We had many employees that were in the fire, trying to check on the health of our systems, trying to get our systems online or preserve water pressures in the system. But in every piece of the response, I think everyone just had ownership for what was happening. And I think, in these moments, you just, someone's running away from their home or they're trying to evacuate on a road, and you just, I guess what keeps you going is that if you can make a difference in fighting that fire, then hopefully you can save one home or one person's life, and you just don't know where that line is, so you just keep going. And I think that's probably a lot of what carried us through that day, is just wanting to protect the people in our community. And sometimes that led us to dangerous situations for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be kind of the common theme. I was working from home that day too, and looking forward to taking some time off. My operators were actually at the South plant, and they shot me a text and said, "Hey, we see a grass fire off in the distance near the plant. We're going to call it in." And I remember vividly texting them, "Great, grass fires can get out of control quick." And probably about 10 minutes later, they texted me saying they were evacuating the plant because the fire had taken off and the smoke had gotten so bad.
Yeah, it was kind of more of a general growth, at least for our mindset. We knew, since it was heading towards our Howard Berry treatment plant, which was towards the south, our concern was more for Superior. We knew they were kind of more in the line of the direction of the fire. So we were very much in a support mode to start with, of how can we help our neighboring town and help them. And then of course that quickly turned into our own disaster as the fire spread into Louisville. So that was probably the biggest switch, is going from helping to being a victim yourself.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, we had a lot of lessons learned that matched up with things we had done previously. Some examples would be, we had installed a interconnect system with the town of Superior to provide water to each other at times of emergency. And it's one of those things that just kind of sits out in a field and nobody thinks about. But we do annually rehearse with Superior how to operate that, to make sure everyone understands how it works and where it's at. And that became a key piece of infrastructure during the fire, as we enabled that interconnect to give Superior water when their water treatment plant went down.
So I knew we were going to need water, and we were going to need it fast, and a lot of it. So I jumped in my vehicle to head into Louisville. And even by the time I got onto the highway, I was about 20 miles away, and it looked like a volcano had went off in the direction of Louisville. It was just this huge, massive plume of smoke. So yeah, I headed in, and my staff was doing the best they could. They were ramping up our Sid Copeland treatment plant to full production because we knew that water was going to be an issue no matter what, but we had no idea how bad or how widespread the fire was at that point. It was just a matter of producing as much as we could. And kind of after getting that stabilized, we got a report that Superior's plant had to be evacuated, and they were no longer able to produce water. And that's when we realized, hey, we need to start this interconnect and try to provide them some water and get them on life support, essentially. But to do that, we had to travel over through that whole fire area to the plant and manually operate those valves to get the water to them. So myself and another operator, Jeff Owens, made that journey against all that evacuation traffic and overland and all kinds of crazy stuff to get there and turn that on. And then we did an assessment on the plant, saw that it was out of power because it was a natural gas powered generator. And they had shut that off for the whole grid because the houses literally across the street from the plant were burning. Evaluated tanks and saw that the tanks on that side of town were almost empty. There was only about a foot of water left in tanks that usually have 20 feet of water in them. Understood the situation was very dire. Had a quick conversation with my supervisors, Kurt and Corey, and made the quick decision together to open up the raw valves manually, let that lake water run through the plant just to provide water supply over quality at that point, because we knew the damage was getting worse every minute.
The call came in that they had portable natural gas containers that Excel had available to us that they could connect into our generator to get us powered up. And so we made the call at that point to go ahead and go into the treatment plant.
As the events of the night continued on, Kurt and Corey arranged for natural gas trailers to be brought in and hooked up to our backup generator. So we were able to get the south plant powered back up and start treatment again. And the operators had the plant back in compliance about 6 hours after that.
One of the ways that Louisville was able to make it through is we have a very proactive capital improvement program. And so there was a lot of improvements that had all been done in the last 4, 5, 10 years, whatever you want to say, to make things go better. In 2018, we had replaced a pump station at our north plant. We had problems with, at really high flow, the pumps cavitating and actually shutting down on us. So we had a brand new facility that was able to run through that. We switched from chlorine gas to sodium hypochlorite generation. So we were able to, handle capacities and chemical supplies that way because we were able to generate on site. Our tube settlers we replaced with plate settlers. So we had stainless steel plates. So that allowed for better settlement process through the treatment plants. So just a variety of improvements and enhancements throughout the years that made it so that we knew the facilities could perform at that high level for a long period. This isn't something that's necessarily scripted, so we had lots of communications and conversations with the Department of Health. They were fantastic through the whole process. Even the day of the fire, when we made the call to bring in raw water into the system, I was able to make contact with them, and they were fully supportive of what we were doing. Life safety, we totally understand, and that was a great partnership that we had. But then the recovery piece is okay, how do we deal with the VOCs and kind of these things that are outside of what you'd consider typical regulation? And that was one of the things we were really proud of, is we were able to kind of set up our own plan from the utility and run that through the state regulators, and they can kind of give us the thumbs up, like, yep, you guys, this makes sense. You've talked to experts. We understand what you're trying to do, and that was really cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate the support of the city and the city council, and then Kurt and Corey as well, of bringing us over there to Maui to help out and provide anything that we could to help pay it forward to them and help them, because it is a very unique, unfortunate thing that has happened over there. And specifically to utilities, there's a lot of unknowns. You're kind of out there on your own, and no one else really understands what you're going through, and some of the technical pieces. So it was very beneficial and to be able to help other people with that. And I appreciate the support of Louisville to do that.
Or you see the news on what happened at Maui. You're reliving your experiences from our experiences from Marshall Fire, and it feels so similar. It's eerie that you just have this need to give them the same amount of help that you received, if not more.
Yeah, strangely, it felt very familiar, which is sad to say when you're dealing with a disaster, but a lot of the destruction and things, was familiar to what we had dealt with. And you're watching it from the outside a little bit, so you kind of aren't dealing with the emotions as much as they are right then. So you're happy to be there and support and kind of use your trauma to help somebody else get through the difficulties that they are. But you see the same look in their eyes, the same, tiredness that you felt and that you saw in everybody that same week. And so it definitely brings back a lot of memories and a lot of things that were not so great. But it generated a lot of gratitude for me and how things worked here in Louisville.
Well, I think the biggest thing that you can get from people that have gone through similar disasters or traumas This is the recognition that they know how you feel at that moment and that you can trust them. I think during a disaster, you have so many people reaching out, offering assistance, and you're in this state of shock. You just don't really know. It's just like a big fog of things and people, and you just don't know really where to step, or you might not know what's the most important next step. And so I think we were able to go in and just explain to them, okay, this is the path for your journey, and these are roughly how your timelines might play out, and these are where some of your gotchas are, and these are some critical actions you should take to be successful. And then after that, just kind of share much of the documentation that we developed through our fire, just so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yep, that's exactly what we did. So we called it a return to service plan. And yeah, we were able to hand that off to the Maui group, and they were able to change it to their own language, essentially switch out Colorado with Hawaii, and use that document to get the same approvals that we did. And yeah, it was really awesome. At the public meeting after, both the EPA and the state and Maui Water were all on there, and they had a unified message that said, here's what we're doing to ensure the water is safe. And we think that was really great to be able to pass that along.